Welcome to TYT Sports RotoWire. Ben and Chris are going to have a little fun here with our power rankings, a little twist on the old NFL power rankings. Yeah. Coaches?
Well, let's start. I'm going to do the power rankings first because I think coaches,
of the teams.
Okay. But I did both, and you know, I think this is true. It's certainly true with me when I bet. It's true with Cenk that I care less about Peyton Manning and Russell Wilson and more about Pete Carroll and John Fox. That I think you bet coaches, at least long term, you bet coaches. So the power rankings overall, I mean, just run through them real quick. I suspect that I'm in agreement with a lot of people around the league who cover football. Okay. I have at number 10 the Atlanta Falcons. I can't help it. I'm dubious. That 10th spot is almost like the who's going to fall out next week when they screw up. But right now I have them 10, just ahead of Carolina, just ahead of Baltimore. Number 9, New Orleans. They're 1-2, but I still feel like there's potential there, and they're close to being 3-0. The flip side is they could also be 0-3. I have the Patriots at 8, but there's something wrong there, and it's not a confident 8 in any way. Indy, another 1-2 team in the top 10. I have them at 7. I think they're going to. There was a bet last week available at -110, basically even money to take the Colts to win that division when they were 0-2. I can't believe I missed it. They are going to win that division. It is a lock. There's no way they don't win that division, barring a major injury. I have the Chargers at number 6. 2-1, some huge wins. They look terrific. The Bengals at number 5. If you just fell out of the sky, they seem like the best team in football, but we didn't fall out of the sky, so we're putting them at number 5. Arizona is 4. Winning tough games on the road with Drew Stanton is impressive. Philly at number 3. They look like the best offense in football, and I think they have maybe the best coach. And then the Super Bowl teams from last year. I have Denver at number 2 and Seattle at number 1. The loss to San Diego doesn't faze me at all. I think Seattle's still far and away the best team in football.
I was at that game on Sunday. I was in Seattle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I honestly left there thinking, I don't know if either of these teams are going back to the Super Bowl. It's just it was a weird deal. Maybe I had a weird angle on the game, but I was like,
It was a weird game the way it was played. I thought Peyton Manning getting 59 seconds with no timeouts in Seattle and scoring that touchdown
that was weird for
ridiculous.
The Seattle D. Yeah.
That's the degree of difficulty is not ever.
I thought it was 49. It was 59?
It was 41.
59 seconds when he started, when he got the ball to 20.
I thought it was 49.
And he got down with no timeouts against Seattle D in Seattle. I don't know how he did that. I don't know why they didn't cover Jacob Tammy, but still, it was
a lot of people had left. I'm just saying, there was a lot of people that had already left that game.
I don't know how you run a down, out, and up in the NFL and it works. like that.
Jacob Tammy. I mean, he had time to do that, right? Yeah. Would say it's like you running like the bases or something.
Totally.
So,
weird.
But I hope you're right. I hope they are 1-2.
But okay, so that was great. But how about the just absolute domination they had in the overtime drive, where they just,
we just saw two great drives from great teams back to back.
Doing it totally differently.
That's why they're winning.
On TYT Sports, have you talked about the coin toss?
No.
Okay. Maybe this week talk about that.
What about
Because people are already out, not even Denver people are crying for another overtime change.
Well, first of all, let me say this
But
real
we don't
quick.
have to talk about that here.
Very quickly, the old rule was an atrocity. Because it changed the way football is played. These guys aren't taught to play defense to prevent teams from going 34 yards.
Right.
You're taught to prevent. So you're in the most important time of the game, you're really changing the rules of the game. So I hated that a 6-yard run, an 11-yard pass, and a nonsense 15-yard roughing the passer penalty, and all of a sudden you kick a field goal, the game's over. That's crazy. This is much better because you do have to drive the length of the field. But there's still something slightly unfair about winning the toss and then winning the game.
Here's how you fix it. Instead of kicking off, you say, the team that's kicking off says, one team says, I'll pick the spot on the field we start from. You choose whether you get or receive the ball. So if you say, okay, 17-yard line, you want the ball or you want to play defense?
Yeah,
right?
That's going to happen, Chris.
Right. That's a great, but that makes it fair because if you say 3-yard line, everyone say, I'll play defense. Right. If you say the 10-yard line, they'll probably take defense. At a certain point, when you get to 20, maybe you take offense, but there's a certain point at which it's totally fair because you don't know what to take, defense or offense. That's how you make it fair.
Teams have the ball.
I did love that somebody on Twitter was like, I'm sure Peyton Manning's going to be going over how he could have redone that coin toss. And sure enough, in his press conference, he was like, well, and then I called tails because it worked the first time, and so I did it again.
But that said,
that didn't work too well.
It is much better. It does not feel like a grave injustice. So we're also looking at the top 10 coaches because they don't correspond with this. So the coaches, at number 10, I have Mike McCoy. Because I think that taking that, we talk about it all the time at every TYT Sports show, you had to remove the stench of Norv Turner. That might make him number 1. And that team just seems, there was a point in the game against Seattle where Phillip Rivers fumbled a snap and he fell on the ball. And if Norv Turner had been the coach, he wouldn't have fallen on the ball. I don't know how it would have worked out, but somehow
he would have kicked it.
He would have kicked it forward the wrong direction.
No, everything, not forward. He wouldn't have kicked it forward.
It just would have gone. Things that go wrong went wrong. So McCoy at number 10. Number 9, Marvin Lewis. I think the Bengals, who have generally a pretty lousy organization, should be praised for sticking with a guy. It's paying off. Consistency matters. The Harbaughs come in 8 and 7 for me, Jim and John, but there's clearly something wrong there in San Francisco. I have Sean Payton at number 5. He still seems to me perhaps maybe trading a little bit on the fact of that Super Bowl year and the fact that he has a great quarterback, but they've lost some very big games and have not performed well in the playoffs since then. Belichick at number 5. That may be silly. It may be obvious that he should be 1 all the time, but I have him at 5. I have Tomlin at 4.
Why should he be 1 all the time?
Because he's a great frickin' coach for forever.
He's won 3 Super Bowls. He's won 3 Super Bowls. Defensive coordinator of 2 others.
And they won 11 games with Matt Castle.
Yeah.
At number 4, I have Tomlin. Looking at that Steeler-Panther game on Sunday night, you look at Mike Tomlin's record and you realize this guy's been great, and that counts 18 and 17 in his last 35 games. His record is really impressive. That's very much his team. It's obviously not Bill Cowher's team anymore. I like the changes he made on the offense when bringing in Haley. I like it. I like Mike Tomlin. I think he's good. Carroll, I have at number 3. You can't argue with what Pete Carroll's done in college and the pros. Number 2, Bruce Arians. I think it's time we admitted that this guy might be the best.
Doing a great job.
Might be the best coach in the NFL. It's possible. And I have Chip Kelly at number 1 because he combines a great offensive mind, not caring what anybody thinks, a total, complete understanding of clock management in a way that nobody else has, and aggressiveness, which I think will always pay off.
Chris.
Okay, I agree with a lot of those. I mean, I'd shuffle it a little bit. You know, Coughlin in the top 10. I'm not in love with Coughlin. I think he's a little bit, of a dinosaur. But I do think, like, for the most part, that team, well, I don't want to say they've had some collapses, but he's gotten a lot of that team at times that you wouldn't think he would have. A lot of the Super Bowl runs, going into other people's buildings and getting a lot of.
We're just a little too far removed from it now, but I hear you.
Yeah, Coughlin I would have, on the fringe of the top 10. And I like the fact that you were aggressive with Arians because he's really been great last couple of years. Here's some guys I think should be, between 29 and 32. One guy who's actually made the playoffs twice, and you wouldn't think it, is Chuck Pagano. I mean, I just think they have not unleashed Andrew Luck. Just let the guy play. He's a number 1 overall pick. He's one of the best prospects at QB in the last 10 years. Let the guy throw the damn ball.
Well, they're getting close.
You saw, in addition to the 2 bad calls, Pagano's offensive play selection at the end
every time.
It was just cost them that Monday night game against Philadelphia.
Terrible.
That team should be 2-1.
I don't think he's good, but okay. So he made the playoffs. So I give him a little break. Ken Wisenpunt. Okay, he was in Arizona every time. That guy was the master of plus territory. 4th and 4, 4th and 6, down 10 points in the 3rd quarter. Punt. Ken Wisenpunt cannot. The Titans are not off to a good start. Jake Locker is not developing. He showed some signs last year. He's kind of collapsing right now. We'll see. I got them in this week. It'll probably be a mistake because Ken Wisenpunt is their coach. Okay, a couple other guys. John Fox. I mean, just, going into a shell. I mean, Peyton Manning's kind of the coach of the offense, so you have that going, and they've got so much talent. But I mean, that Super Bowl was just an atrocity. And they even went into a shell against New England in the championship game. New England had sort of not a really good chance, but they kind of had that like onside kick touchdown chance late, which they never should have.
Plays the entire 4th quarter, if not the entire game, terrified of what might happen.
Right. Horrible. Jim Caldwell I just put in. It's mostly his expressions. He just looks like he's a deer in the headlights. He was totally outcoached in the Super Bowl by Sean Payton that one year. We'll see. The Lions defense has actually played better. I don't know if that has anything to do with him, but I have him low. And of course, 32nd, the worst coach. I think applications to Princeton are way down the last few years. If they're not, they should be. Is Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett will punt. He would punt if he were down 5 touchdowns, and he was 4th and 1 from the 1-yard line. He would punt. I mean, he would punt any chance he has. He will never take a risk, and it's sad because Tony Romo, I think in other circumstances, could be a Hall of Fame quarterback. I think Des Bryant could be a Hall of Fame wide receiver. They've got a great running back, great offensive line. Obviously, the defense is a joke, but the organization is kind of rotten from the top, and that coach. I guess he just does what, he's more, you got to have a guy like Parcells or a guy like Jimmy Johnson, and Jerry Jones couldn't live with a guy who would tell him off and say, look, I know more football than you. I just think that, as a Giants fan, you know what, extend him, keep keep him there for 20 more years. Right. But I think he's the 32nd best coach in the NFL.
Yeah, the bottom five, which we should consider like the contenders for the Wayne Fontes Award. I like Jim Caldwell being on there. I like Jason Garrett. I like Ken Wisen. All these guys who punt. I think you left out one guy I have there right now who does not understand the clock in any way. And again, that could cost you 2 games and the playoffs. That's a huge deal. Mark Trestman of Chicago is baffled by it. Baffled by it. Maybe he'll figure it out. Maybe he'll just hire someone who gets it, who has his ear, but he doesn't get it at all. So I had him in one of my final 3 right now, although it seems like a crime not to put Jim Caldwell in there. Maybe they've turned the corner. I doubt it. Yeah. I doubt it with Jim Caldwell. And then to me, the most egregious punter in the NFL, John Fox is on my bottom 3 too, for the same, no question.
Horrific.
Is Mike Smith.
Oh, I mean, horrific also.
24-10, they trailed Cincinnati with under 4 minutes to play. Or under 5 minutes to play. They were at their own 17, 4th and 10. They're down 14 points.
Right.
He punted.
Yeah.
Look, you can't get the ball 3 times. You can only get it twice.
It's anyway.
Not chess. You don't tip your king. You know what I mean?
It's okay to lose 31-10. It makes no difference.
Right. And it's not like a certainty. Like, okay, I see 8 moves from now. I'm checkmated. Like I can't win. You could win. Just convert the first down.
Roddy White, get 12 yards, keep the ball, go. But he gave up, and it sends a signal to his team. He's horrible. And yet they, because they're beating people 56-14, and there are times that he looks okay.
I'm going to just finish the segment with just some advice to some of these coaches, which is just something that they should realize is it doesn't matter what yard line the other team kneels down on to close out the game.
That's right.
It doesn't matter if they're 20 or you're 20. They're kneeling down once they get that punt, once they receive the punt. It doesn't make a difference.
And if 10 yards to get a first down ends the game, it doesn't matter if they go from the 20 to the 10 or from the 33 to the 43.
Right.
So in coaches in the NFL, I say this every time. I'm going to say it 100 times this year. Coaches in the NFL will tell you, every one of them will say the same cliche. They will say, turnovers are what we have to avoid. That's the most important thing. A punt is a turnover. You are giving the ball to the other team. Obviously, when it's 4th and 12 in the first quarter and you're your own 9, you punt. I get it. But consider it a turn. Just have it occur to you that it's a turnover before you kick it away.